We're back.
Take two.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just ditch the first one.
Sounds fine. So yeah, where we left off was basically, well, John, you were tying in a bunch of stuff, and then Jordan and I were painting a bunch of stuff, and so yeah, I don't know, John. I guess you can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Figure out where we're headed.
I think where we might be is like we have our React stuff mostly scaffolded, and it'd be nice maybe to like pull down the changes and go through the latest updates there just to get on the same page. But I feel like we might be at the point where we just need to do a bit of contract work and update all the fields in the contract to match like what we'd expect to send into there. Maybe figure out the allowed responders array on the subgraph and redeploy that. Does that feel like territory we want to get into?
Can you say one more time? I was working on the subgraph at the moment.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. Yeah. Basically subgraph stuff, making sure we have our settings fields in the contract and just tying up the like settings transaction push from the React page.
Yeah.
I don't mind driving for the React stuff. And then if you have the contract stuff loaded up, they take that from your side.
Sure, that's fine.
We could move those styles into the create page, create group page. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to pull styles in from the settings page into the create group page.
That's looking great. Love it.
Coming along.
Also, so glad you kept the together fun. It's great. It was like the very on I think one of our technical sessions. It was the very first slide I think you said, and it really, I was just like, it's so good. It's so good.
So, we'll do for now.
Guys, Dave taught me enough Tailwind to be dangerous last night. I'm very excited.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah. It's good. I had a bad attitude, but I don't anymore.
It was a fun time. Fun time was had. Okay, so don't need this. Well, I guess we can do a breakout room, Jordan. We can knock out this new page if you want.
Yeah.
It'll take 5 seconds, and I'm mostly just copying styles. So. Kristen, break us out, please.
Right, this time I'm going to do 2 breakout rooms. So then if I do want to jump between, I can do that. Right.
Star Trek moment.
Mm-hmm.
Teleporter.
I did it wrong again. Add room. Okay.
Holodecks. Oh yeah. So Tony basically worked on holodecks, all the spatial stuff. See how it is. Basically. I don't like that I don't have agency to break out my own room. Bullshit.
You have to ask permission.
It's kind of fun.
I know.
For your own protection.
I wonder
Yes.
if you could make
Do not leave the
everybody
herd.
co-hosts and then everyone can have the ability.
Decentralized hosting.
Oh no, did I break something? I might have broken something.
That'll happen.
I
Where
think yeah. I broke the old subgraph. It's now pointing to the new one.
Honestly, I think that's fine. Also, you're muted. I think you might. Oh, or I.
Can hear you, John.
Yeah, I thought CJ was saying something. Maybe not. It was really great seeing all the windows just disappear. I'm just like, oh no, how did these?
Yeah, I was curious what would happen, and then I think that I just stay in the main room, and I was like, "Is this just recording me sitting on a screen in a room by yourself?" I'll go back.
So I left the room and then I rejoined it, and then I could hear things because that makes sense.
Sometimes you got to leave a room and re-enter.
I guess so.
But yeah, what I was saying is I don't think the graphing is a big deal. I think we're so close to having the instances basically popping.
Yeah, it's just like whatever. It's like whatever we responded to earlier. We'll just have to like kind of dig up again at some point, rather than it being kind of like easy to get to.
That's reasonable.
Okay.
It makes sense for me to start adding some of the writer functions into this contract, like update settings. Not even sure. Update visibility, I guess. Update settings. Update name.
Sorry, what is it? I think the audio is like a little like garbled for me at least.
Right. And it's super amazing. Basically wondering if I should just start scaffolding in the update, like description updates, group name updates, visibility functions into the contract.
Yeah, seems fine.
I just want to make sure you haven't started that. And I'm duplicating.
No. Okay, the subgraph thing for allowed responders is fixed now, it looks like. Did audio go out? Oh my gosh, audio.
I see.
No, I don't think it went out. We're just
Oh,
silent.
okay. Okay.
Deep in thought.
We were like doing repetitive cleanup stuff.
Instance ID is not needed there, I think.
Well, how would we know?
Maybe
Would
it
we need
is.
to map that from the prompt ID maybe? Or reverse lookup that we can use for that?
Let's see.
Maybe we need to pass in. Okay.
It's fine. Just pass in instance ID too.
Mhm.
That's not my favorite, but it's okay.
Yep. Very curious what
This
signer
is
thing
for
is.
this is for transaction forwarding.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
it to conform to like EIP whatever 1559 or whatever it is.
Yep. Gotcha.
No longer isolated. We came back to the main
string
room
compare-
and we
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's that.
They came back because
Oh,
Dave
no,
yelled
it's
in the
fine.
other room. Kristen! So
Dave panicked and
the
started
system
yelling.
works really well.
Mhm.
He did this to me yesterday to record, and I was doing yoga. And I was like, okay, I'll stop doing yoga and I'll come.
Does it make sense to just do a Boolean as opposed to a string? It might be simpler.
Because we only have two states.
Yeah.
effectively this would just be is that.
Yep.
Save it.
I think we also discussed something about like overloading responders with it is if it has no responders, it's public. But I guess it could be only certain people are still allowed to respond and it's still public. Probably different things. On creating the instance, I think you need to have the, yeah. Like probably as an input. If it's throwing the error marked as abstract, it means that one of the functions is not conforming to the interface. So probably in create instance where you added is visible, you need to add that same thing to iPrompty as well.
That makes sense.
It's my guess. I don't 100% know. It also might make sense just to remove those from the interface, but it's a good practice, I think. Probably respond as well.
Oh, I should probably add visibility and the other function to the interface. Might be the
Yeah.
next thing.
I don't think that should be a problem, but it might be. Also, if you try to compile it, it'll tell you what exactly is wrong. There's no package.json. You'll do forge build. Forge space build. Okay, this is no problem. You probably need to install the Open Zeppelin contracts, which is forge install, and then the GitHub path. I don't think it should be that. So if you scroll up, they won't be on Forge. Just like where it's like github.com/openzeppelin/ that, just copy that piece of it. And yeah, use no commit. Oh, okay. Well, that's a different issue. You could try Forge update and see what happens there. I think it might. I think it might just be purely just Forge update with nothing else. Name changed. It's add responders now, and then yeah. And then this is all in the test file. It's prompty.t.sol. Needs true or false. There's another one further down. Yeah. And probably those respond are going to need the instance ID, which should be 0. I'm assuming. Yeah, it's prompt ID 0, instance ID 0.
We have a build.
Mhm.
Players though, these don't look critical. This might be a TypeScript,
Could just
or
be,
not that.
well, yeah, it's some language server. I don't know if there's a restart Solidity language server.
think we're good. Right. Should I try deploying from my side with like old private key or just generate a new wallet maybe?
Yeah, either is fine. You have to add the env.local with those four params.
Mm-hmm. Stop share for now. Easy. Command line utility from ethers that generates a new private key. Am I remembering that right? I did this last time.
Normally I just
But
go to MetaMask and generate, like create a new wallet and then copy and paste that.
well, yeah, that's good.
Or create a new account rather.
Mhm. And I'd be, we're on Mumbai, right?
Sorry.
We're on Mumbai now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's 80,001 is the chain ID. The Ether scan API key, probably just grab my own. Remember if we have an instance. I can copy and paste mine.
Thank you.
And RPC URL, if you don't have it, is
I pulled this one out of whatever on files, but yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you prefer to commit the output from Forge of the deploy?
Just the latest.
And this stuff feels like it's some modules.
That's part of the Forge update that you did earlier, I think.
Yeah.
It should be fine to include.
Oh, okay. So I'll just be updating the patch in some module. Like the property has the actual files in here. Hopefully it's not a mess. All right. I can probably figure out the good stuff in a bit, but contract seems to be deployed. Not verified yet, but I think this took like quite a while last time as well.
Yeah, it's fine.
Cool. Try to point this subgraph to the updated contract.
Yeah.
Stupid question here, Dave Jordan. Did y'all delete these files or add these files? Do you remember?
Those should be, we added those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Also okay to commit the contents of out or just the out directory in Contracts Forge. It looks like that. Most of this is already in here. Yeah. Things are committed. Good. Cool. So I'm curious about the structure of the update settings call. Since some of the fields may be updated, but not necessarily all, and each one is a separate transaction, would it make sense to basically say if the new value is different from what we had coming back from the subgraph, then create a transaction for updating that basically field, like visibility or description. Sort of checking these fields one by one. And is there like a pattern for presenting multiple transactions to the user in a row to sign? Is that what that would look like? Or do we
I
maybe
mean, this
just
gets
make
real messy.
Yeah. Or do we maybe make a helper function in the contract that's just like accepting all of these, and then that's doing the
Yeah,
thing?
probably that.
Okay. That makes clear.
What are you trying to do, John?
Comparing the passed in memory parameter of the name to the storage parameter, which it doesn't like comparison. So I was trying to use like a string details library.
Do we need to check it, or can we just blindly put it in? I think.
Yeah, my only thought there was like we just have to ensure we're always passing in good data from React.
Yeah, I feel like that's easy to do on the front end.
Cool. It's easy.
The one thing with this, John, that I'm looking at is I wonder if the other functions can be removed entirely, mainly because the event that we're emitting is always update instance, which is now going to be emitted like multiple times through calling those other functions. And that'll cause like extra load on the subgraph to handle. And yeah, it's just kind of duplicate.
I think that makes sense. One of these. Also thinking for optimization, like make sure we're not adding duplicate addresses, modifying this function to only update the array if that target address does not exist yet, and that way we can sort of blindly call it from here instead of recreating the loop. Does that make sense? So you can always call add responders, and this thing runs through and only adds.
That's fine.
Okay.
I don't think it needs to. I don't think it needs to do a check there. Doing a check would actually be more gassy than just doing that, I think.
In other words, this won't create duplicates because by key, which is by their address.
It's a map. It's not an array.
Sweet. Good. That's all we need to do. Building theory. No worries. Sure thing. Test. Let's validate. Or I don't even even call any of the update. Yeah. we're not returning an explicit return from the update settings function, can we just wait for like an opcode?
It'll be similar to, yeah, like this thing where you're decoding the event that was emitted. The only thing is like, you probably don't know where the event is. Like it depends what order it's emitted in. So that gets tricky.
Yeah.
The only thing is like, I guess, where's it going to redirect to? And is it really necessary to?
I feel like a refresh, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like just a refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I honestly might say for now, because like this one's a little trickier, is just like comment it out, add it to do, and just like wait, like maybe add wait 30 seconds, like a use timeout, and just after the use timeout expires, call it the router.push.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing Arthur and I almost got to last time, but we didn't have quite enough time, is redoing all of our like weights to use the subgraph instead of confirmations and like optimistic refreshes. So we're basically waiting for the data to come back, and then we'll just standardize all of the.
I mean, there's like code that I've written for this before that's like in a standard like function and callback format.
That would be.
Subgraph. Graph weight. It might not be like good, nice to do now, but like this is just like 3 pieces of code that you would use. The first one is the actual graph weight function, and you pass in a callback to it, which basically once it resolves to be true, then you stop waiting, and then the next thing can happen. So this is just a promise that waits, and then the callback function is like upload art complete. So that's just querying the graph every now and then, and you pass it in like whatever you want to check, and like whatever, and you just keep requesting the subgraph. Like basically the graph wait function says request the subgraph every 2 seconds to run this callback to see whether you got the data from the subgraph that you were looking for. And if you got the data from the subgraph that you were looking for, you can stop waiting and do whatever you want to do next. So that's what the then like whatever is there is like, you call the graph wait function with a void function pointing to the callback. And that's what keeps getting called over and over. And like you do that in the transaction, like wherever you do like the transaction, and you do like tx.wait, and then you do like this, and that's it.
Yep, makes sense. I think we just hacked this into every page separately, but it would be nice to have a standard shape for this.
Yeah, we were doing similar in OKPC, and I feel like it needed to be standardized.
Yes. The latest subgraph schema is the visible flag string or the blue.
What are you doing?
Our type
It should be a Boolean. From the subgraph, it's just called visible.
Mhm.
Can you send me the new address as well?
Mhm. New address.
You need to copy the ABI over probably.
From contract forge.
Yeah, go to contracts forge just in the out directory, and then Prompty. Prompty.sol. It's right there. Yeah, and then that ABI where the no. Yeah, where that brace starts, you copy to the end of that brace.
The array
If you're
itself.
using Vim, you can, yeah, the whole array. You just copy the whole array. So if you're using Vim,
I have
you
Vim
can
keybinds.
do like
Yeah.
V% and then Command C.
Very neat. And then this goes we're in the front.
I would search for like ABI or something. It might be contracts. I'm not sure. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can do the same. Yeah, and then Command V instead.
Nice. Okay.
And if you haven't updated the address everywhere else, you'll need to do that as well.
Yes. Although you'll have a newer version of this one, so I'll just pull that down. Right.
I haven't.
Subgraph, yeah.
I mean, you don't need to
yet.
do the subgraph stuff. It's completely independent. So
Yeah. So
I've already updated the subgraph.
Cool.
There should be no groups now because there's a new contract.
Creating a group.
You need to probably pass the visibility, I guess.
Instance ID. Oh yeah. Could be good back to this. They do.
So this is, I was talking about before, turning this form into a component. I don't know if we want to add members and stuff into this too.
And then it would really just be shared from the settings page.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean that's fine.
Test. Okay, good.
What are you trying to do?
I created a Prompty test wallet in here, but it seems to have vanished. I wonder if it's just state. There it is. Prompty deploy. Keep things consistent.
Cool. Wait for the graph to update, probably.
Yeah, that's probably why the top left isn't showing in the main yet.
I see it in the subgraph.
Yeah, there's the name. Oh, yeah, pre-filled. Probably need to soften up the loading state, but we'll do that with the graph refresh loop stuff. Description not being populated, wondering why that might be the case. Let's see. So, it's coming back. I think set description was not being called. Yep. Nice. Yes. That doesn't have any issues. This would be come back. Responders isn't ready. In a subgraph, it's possible I forgot to add any allowed responders for group 3, so we didn't even add that field. But I'm getting an empty array back. But I'm wondering if I might pass an empty array.
I can check. I have logging, so I can see what it got. Okay. There's one more bug in the subgraph. And I know the fix. Wait, what the heck? I thought I already fixed this. Why is it back? What the heck? I literally just fixed this and now it doesn't work. The code reverted itself, which is so weird.
Things are working. Well,
Things are working.
As the other fields, like the description.
Oh, okay. The allowed responders should be fixed now. Ideally.
Data's in here. So
I guess allowed responders is probably, is it just like a string array?
I assume so.
Like,
I'm
well, look at where you create. Yeah, it's a string array. In this case, it looks like it can also be undefined, like, or like what's being returned from
instantly.
the subgraph could be undefined. So it's not liking that. So either there needs to be like an if check around it, like making sure that instance
feel like
data
maybe
exists,
this
or
whole
like
thing should be in that if check.
I think so. That's one thing, and then like allowed responders in particular, like might be undefined, and I think that's like in particular why that one's complaining. Like it does have the optional chaining, which is like kind of okay. The other thing that you can do is probably at the end of that, like where the blue brace is at the end, you can add I think it's double or after that. Yeah, a double or and just an empty array.
Got it.
Which
so
I
that's-
basically think says if it's undefined, then do empty array instead.
Yeah, so should we
Or
also
if you
initialize
want,
it?
or if you want that thing, yeah,
No, I think
whatever
yeah, we should
you would like.
Yeah, because that's definitely a valid address, and I wouldn't know which address you put in there anyway. So now that's looking good. Add a new address into here.
Have you all ever seen another settings page that writes to the chain?
The group or the Prompty settings?
I just mean
Just in
any-
general.
Yeah,
OKPC, I think. We toggle
Yeah.
the settings on there and update it.
okay.
I
I just wonder
clarity.
how. I just wonder if there's been another one. Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't outside of OKPC. I don't think I've run into anything. Curious if clarity does.
Run by whether it's currently guidance. I also think OpenSea potentially has something.
You have something where you can sign.
Yeah, I think it's like a signal signature that validates, that ties your address to your something else. Your index maybe.
I suppose the ENS page kind of feels a little bit like this, where you can sign to set your usernames and stuff.
Right.
Or it's on a site, actually, it's a transaction to like set like a website or like a Twitter
Yeah.
address.
It feels very heavy.
Setting is like a serious thing.
Just consider your settings carefully.
Wisely, yes. A little bird in here. Bird going in the sky.
Give it some croissant.
Oh, it's got so many crumbs it's eating here. I think it's fine.
And
It's becoming picky.
living that cafe life.
When the blocks stop coming in, like I see it on test nets recently often for like a minute or two. Do you know what's like causing that? Like, is it some crazy spike in load that validators don't have enough capacity for, or does it just kind of depend?
Test nets are just like not supported by that many nodes normally. So if like a node goes down, basically the whole test net goes down.
Got it. Yeah.
Or at least like that's kind of what I assume. I don't actually know. It's like, you know, like ETH mainnet or Polygon mainnet is probably supported by hundreds or thousands of nodes. So like the consensus is much stronger, but I think the consensus is pretty weak on the test nets. On like Rinkeby and like all those things, it's always been like pretty weak.
Look at the cool stats. Zero online. But I think there is something quite cool about the fact that the testnet is just like a smaller full stack version of the mainnet. Like it's got like all the same limitations and capabilities. Because at first I assumed that it was like a pseudo net that they're running like an API simulating it, but nah, I think it's just like the same thing, but with free.
Well, I think validator might not be the right terminology. Validator is like ETH 2.0 terminology. Like node is probably more accurate.
I think I saw a similar dashboard like this for GoRev, the latest network understanding might have something like that. Well, someday we'll back to me, and then we'll have a big thing. wondered about a UI pattern where it's like you kind of optimistically put these pending transactions in the drawer. I mean, I think it's kind of like that Uniswap one where you see that little like that little stack of the pending things going out. That way you're like, I guess I just wonder, like, you kind of free the user to go and do other things in the app, and do you assume that those settings will eventually like validate and update, or do you kind of like be super safe and keep the user somewhat more restricted until the settings really come back because everything went through? Like, I wonder if there's a way to make a Web3 app be like Web2 by just being like super clever, but then I also feel like that could be dangerous because then you have like different models of the data on the user side and the chain. And you kind of get into the old problems of the Ajax like architecture where things diverge. Maybe this was just like less of a problem soon, but
yeah, like this case, like if it's on mainnet, you know, how much faster is it there? And then I don't know. I think putting it into some sort of visual buffer makes sense, probably, especially if, like, I mean, what is the turnaround time? Like if it's 10 seconds or something like this, you know, then that's perfectly fine. And if we can print out the UI in the meantime, and what is the likelihood that you're going to be doing things so rapidly that you're going to overdrive that kind of thing?
pretty low.
I think, it's dependent on the pacing of what you're doing, I guess. So like if it's conversation, obviously like not going to work for a chat app, but for something that's more like publishing slowly, like I think that's fine. And then having the interface snap back into the form that you're expecting with a buffer, it's more reliable that way. And then because the wait times, like the wait times are tough. People will bail. So
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to do like a sort of audit of the better interfaces that are handling this. Like Uniswap is definitely I mean, they've got so much resource on this stuff and they've got their patterns nailed down. Most of the exchanges have like figured out a lot of this stuff. That Clarity site is like one of the better
Yeah, that'd be fun. Just put up a bunch of them, go through them and pick out patterns.
I'm curious if anybody has like already done the dive on this and has like some list that they're maintaining. There's so many.
Yeah, it's difficult to keep up though, because the tech that influences the patterns is also changing at the same time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a moving target.
Yep. Yeah, the people that are playing, I mean, this is where all the DeFi stuff is probably they've got the resource to stay on top of it. But yeah. Gotta find young product designers who are trying everything. Tend to map these things well.
There's a funny tweet today about some DeFi protocol, like a whole family of protocols. It being revealed that there was one guy with 11 personas, the 11x engineer, and he was just pushing so many commits and basically like massively bringing up the TVL of these protocols, which allowed more people to think it's like a one man circus show, and he was responsible for like a lot of stuff. True 10x engineer, 11x.
That is madness.
And then somebody else near protocol had a hack this morning or yesterday, and then just like Solana had a wallet bug. It's just like so much. It's scary out there. I don't want to touch
Did
my
you
mouth.
say
Solana scares the shit out of me.
11x engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's John proved it. This guy, yeah, this is actual true. And no one's, this isn't a guy talking about it. This guy lived it. Yeah.
Let's see here.
I'm not a 10x engineer, I'm an 11x engineer.
Yep.
I don't know. I've only known one of them and they're kind of a jerk. Hard to work with.
Yeah.
He liked me at the end, but yeah, he was not.
Should we recap and then unplug from build, or are we still in it?
Yes.
I think so. I think we're actually in a pretty good spot.
I'm becoming sensitive to when
here.
when
In
there's
theory,
that feeling of wanting to break, because it's just nice to cut it when we can. Yeah.
Maximize the efficiency of our time together.
Yeah. Something like that.
Sure.
let me just drop. Well, at some point today, I'll just make sure the transaction goes through and I'll commit the latest code. But right now, I think we're in a pretty good spot where we got our settings page hooked up. I dropped a couple to-dos in the Notion doc. I think we can start pick up probably when we're all in person in Austin for like one last move to mainnet and just like any last polish and start getting a couple groups on here, sending prompting to each other.
Cool.
Should we start playing with it now on the test nets? Is it workable, or is it still
I think so.
okay?
Later today, I'll just basically like make the buzzer group and I'll send a direct URL. I'll make sure it's on myself. And I can
Cool.
put it into the Discord channel.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks for driving, John.
We're still
No
on the home
problem.
stretch.
This is
Still
how
on
it
the home
goes.
stretch.
An eternal
Mhm.
home stretch.
Well, it's the home. It's out there. Thank you, John. Thank you, CJ.
No
Thank
problem.
you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Nice work, guys.
Thank
Mhm.
you,
Nice work.
everyone.
Thanks,
I'd
everyone.
like to thank my sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
coffee.
And so forth.
All right. Enjoy the weekend.